Hello all. In this video we will see the access specifier in Java. There are many access specifiers. Here we are going to look at two basic access specifiers, private and public. Access specifiers tells who can access the internal members of the class. Here the internal members are data member or methods. The class members can be a method or it can be a data field. Let's say a car class is having a data member called speed. So the speed member will tell what is the maximum speed a car can reach. If the class don't want to allow this member not to exceed 185 km per hour, then it should not allow the access of this member to outside world. This means if outside world directly access these members, then they can directly set a different value to this number, which may be more than 185 km per hour. So if a user of this car class changes the value without knowing the restriction, a class cannot do anything for it. That means it don't have control over this particular member. Some user in the sense user outside of this class. It can be the void main or a class from a different package, and if they can access this member outside of the class, and if they change it to 200 km per hour or 300 km per hour, the class may not aware of it. So it doesn't have control over how the external world assigns a value to this speed member. So this problem is because of giving the direct access to the speed member. So to avoid this, class should hide this member to the outside world, and it should give access to this member through a member function. So user can only see the member function and they don't see this data member. So if this gap happens, then the car class can have a control over this particular member. So what car class will do, it will just check inside the member function, and it checks whether user is setting a value within the limit. That means 0 to 185 km. So in the right side picture you are seeing that there is a member called m_speed, and the need for set speed is to hide the member m_speed for external world and provide access to m_speed through the internal member set speed. So at this stage we can learn about two access specifiers. One is public and another one is private. Public members can be accessed anywhere in the code. This means it can be accessed from inside the class member function, or it can be accessed from outside of the class. That means it can be accessed from a derived class. We haven't seen inheritance so far. Just you can know that it can be accessed from inherited class. It can be accessed from other class. Yeah. So public means the member is public, so anybody can access it. We can set this public attribute to member variable as well as a member function. So all we have to do is append a keyword before the declaration. Here is one example. Here we are setting the function void set speed as public. So before the function signature, we are adding the attribute public here. So the class will have attribute public in front of the member method. Here the member method is a set speed which takes it as parameter. So private members can accessed only by methods in the class. So if I have a private member here, data member here, only the methods inside this class can access that. When we try it from outside the class, we will get compiler error. Here an example is shown to set a private member, data member. Int speed is a class member, data member, and we append a keyword private in front of this declaration, then this member becomes a private. So now here we are seeing two class. One is two members. One is a data member and one is a function member or a method. The method is public and the data member is private. So we call this as a data hiding. Since we hide the internal member speed, the external member knows only the set speed function, so it doesn't know any other internal details. So if they want to change the speed of the car class, they should, the user of the car class should depend only on the set speed method. Here you are seeing a car class. It has a private integer member which is initialized to 0, and the data member is kept as private. So car class is not exposing this speed member to outside world. There are two public functions. The user of this car class can freely access those two functions. One is a set speed and another one is a print speed. Print speed will tell you what is the current speed, and that prints that in the console output window. Set speed will take an integer from the outside world and sets the internal member speed. If you see, the speed is accessed here inside the member. Since it is private, we can access it inside the member function. You can also see the speed is accessed and print speed as well. So class internal member can access the private member of a class, but it cannot be accessed outside the class. Also in set speed, you can see we are placing a restriction that the speed should be greater than 185 or it should be less than 0. We are placing a restriction that speed should be greater than 0 and it should be less than 185. That means we are allowing the speed between 0 to 185. Then only we are setting the internal member, otherwise we are skipping the request. So user will actually place a request by calling the set speed and sending the parameter for the speed. In the right side you can see an example. In snippet 1 we are creating a car instance, then First we are setting a speed with the 100, then we are printing the current speed. Since the speed is 100 here, it is allowed. It come inside the set speed and it will get past the if condition there, and it will go to the last statement in the set speed and sets the internal member. In snippet 3 we are trying to set the speed more than 185. That means we are requesting 250. So since we cannot set the speed directly, we depend on the set speed function, and in set speed function we are passing 250 as the parameter. So the car class now have control over this request. Since the request come through the set speed will set a trap, and now it knows the user is trying to set an invalid value, so it skips the request and the speed member is not altered. Previously it was set to 100 and it still remains on this 100. It won't change it to 250. So the second print speed call will still print 100. And snippet 4 we proved that if we directly access the speed we will get compiler error. Okay, we will see this in Eclipse. Okay, in Eclipse we have two Java files. One is a car.java. The content we already seen. It has a private member, then two public methods. Okay, so this is the user of the class. In static domain we are accessing the class. So I kept a breakpoint here. We will see what happens. So we are at the very first statement. Now we will step over it. Here we are setting the speed as 100. If I get inside, we will get past this if statement, and speed will have the internal member of 100. When we ask to print this, it will print 100. Now we are setting it as 250, and since 250 doesn't fall in the range of 0 to 185, we will return from the speed, set speed. So now if I print, it still prints 100. It won't set 250 here. Now we will change the perspective and enable this command. Once I save this, you can see here itself it shows the error, but if I click save, you can see that in the problems view, and it will say that the field car.speed is not visible. So you can't access private member, or even the IntelliSense also proves that if I type my car dot so here you can see the print speed. Since it is public, it is visible, and you can see set speed. This is also visible, but you cannot see the internal member speed here. So if I go to car class and if I change it public, first I have to save. So here you can see the speed member is visible here. So if we make it as a public, then we can access it, but the class may not have, the class will not have control over the speed member. So user can set any field, any value to this iter member. So that's why we hide the data member and we provide access to it through a public function set speed. Okay, we just saw the example. That's all in this video. If you like the video, subscribe it. Thanks for watching.